And now he has a brand new single out, No Love Like First Love, which I'll play in just a moment. And you are slightly older, it turns out, Ronan.
Just slightly.
Yeah, just slightly. You are now 20, just a few days ago, I think.
Yeah,
wow. What did you do for your birthday?
I was just at home in Norwich and just spent the day with my mum and went out with some friends afterwards.
Yeah, was it fun?
Very calm. Yes, it was fun, but yeah, very calm.
And 20 years old, what does that feel like these days? I've got jumpers older than you at home, so I've forgotten.
Strange.
It's a long time ago for me.
Yeah, no, it feels a bit weird. Because everybody's kind of got it in their head, this 12-year-old boy, and how growing up kind of with people seeing me and kind of in the spotlight, it's weird now being 20 and people don't quite understand that when they see you at 12, you actually grow up. You don't stay there.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah.
So when you, between the difference between 12 and 20 is huge in terms of how much you change and you grow up as a person. So being on a show when you're 12 years old, do you have many memories of that?
To be honest, no. I remember I loved every minute, but I can't. It's all a blur. I remember I did certain things here and there, and then people tell me I did this, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's a blur, but I just remember really having a great time. So.
And do you dare look back at the video of your time on Britain's Got Talent, or is that a bit weird to do?
It's a bit cringy, I have to say. I was actually in Thailand at the start of the year, and we were just in a restaurant, and they were playing the auditions from different talent shows, and my audition came on. And that was the first time I'd seen it in ages. It was so embarrassing, so I ran to the toilet. But
did you hide?
Literally, yeah.
Nobody's to see this. Nobody is to see it. Because of course you do have that cringe factor of doing something when you were very young, and then suddenly you are not young anymore, and being exposed to it again, I imagine, is actually quite weird. I mean, you said you had sort of what you remembered were good memories, but it must have been quite a strange process, but maybe you didn't kind of realise what was going on in terms of the telly stuff and everything.
Yeah. Well, I think with talent shows, I always say to people, because I always get asked the question, what would your advice be to younger people who wanted to go into talent shows? And I always say never have any expectations, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, there's so many auditions that are never shown. You know, you never know what's going to happen, so just enjoy every second. But yeah, I mean, I went into that experience with no expectations, and I was very, very lucky in my experience. So it was just because everything happened so quickly, and then you finished the show, and then we toured, and then I made an album, and then continued touring. It was just so much happening at once.
Yes.
I mean,
and have you had a break from any of that in the meantime?
I did. I must have been about 14, and I went back to school full time because I was kind of doing tuition when I was traveling, and then decided to go back to school to finish my GCSEs. And then when I was about 16, I was like, okay, this is something I want to continue doing. I knew going back to school, I'm not interested in maths, I'm not interested in science. Music is what I'm going to be doing. So that's when I kind of decided to make that my full-time thing.
Did you have to stay at school? Because you have to stay at school until you're 18 now, don't you?
Yeah, I think that wasn't kind of in place when I was at school, luckily.
Okay.
So yeah, I left high school and then focused on doing that.
Yeah. And was there a period of time when you were struggling to make that decision about whether you wanted to continue with the pop music and everything like that?
Yes, definitely. I think, there's always highs and lows with everything, especially in this industry, and I guess in every industry. And I did, I lost the faith for a little while, and it was hard to kind of get back into the mood to make music again. But I think going back to school, and then when everyone was saying, I want to go to college and study this, and I want to study that, and I was like, I don't want to study anything because I've already experienced this, and I know what I love, and I know what makes me happy. And so I think going back and doing something that I wasn't really interested in helped me make that decision.
And how strange was it going back to school after you'd had all this superstardom, and you'd basically been in people's living rooms on a Saturday night, people knew who you were, and then you had to go back and be Ronan at school?
It was strange for me, but for everyone else, everybody dealt with it great. I mean, nothing changed. everybody, I have the same friends I had at high school now, and nothing really changed. It was just strange for me, I think.
And how has it been recording some new material, which you told me just before we came on air? Mm-hmm. You have an album in place, but you don't have a release date yet. But you have a single out, which I'll play in just a moment. What was it like going back to that and beginning again and starting with what must be sort of more adult material that you're writing?
Yes. Well, it was very interesting, to be honest, because my first album that I did after the show was all covers, I think, except 2 songs. So I wasn't really involved in the creative process. Whereas this time, although I've not written the songs, we've had incredibly talented songwriters from around the world sending them in. But actually the production side of it, being at the studio and seeing what happens and how it works has been so interesting for me. I mean, I'm learning everything, so much every day. It's been different, but I've loved every second.
And so what's going to happen with when the album comes out? Are you then going to tour it, or is that the plan?
I hope so, yes. Yeah. That's kind of my passion. Performing is the thing that makes me happiest. So, I love this music that we've done, and I can't wait to tour it with people.
Yeah. And what about, because you've talked about other things like, I mean, this is a few years back, but I saw an interview that you did where you were talking about how you'd been treated online and you got quite a lot of abuse online, which just to this day makes me very angry because I don't understand why. I think it's probably because people are slightly inadequate and upset at their situation and then they take it out on other people. Do you think now that it is important still to speak out about things like that?
Absolutely. It helped me deal with the situation. I teamed up with a charity called Kidscape and we did a single, and being able to speak out, the amount of people who've come to me and told me their experience and said how much the song has helped. I mean, it was so empowering for me to be able to actually take that and say, no, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to do this. And because I love music, and so being able to kind of share my experience in that way was, it was great for me.
Yeah. And it's just so important, isn't it, to get the message out there that it's not okay to deal with things like that. It's not okay for people to throw horrible stuff at you online, because you know what? They probably wouldn't do it in the street.
Never.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't be brave enough.
But no.
Yeah. So it's good that you're doing that. Talking about, just take us back a bit to when you were that 12-year-old on Britain's Got Talent. What was quite strange was you were singing songs about, love and desire. And I imagine that at 12 years old, you were pretty much thinking, what is this about?
Yeah. I just listened to I did Feeling Good by Nina Simone for my first audition, and that song to me was something that I kind of grew up listening to, so I just loved the song. Yeah. But now, being older and singing it now, it's like a different thing, because you listen to the words more and you listen to the meaning more, and and then it sang like Make You Feel My Love in the semi-finals, and Because of You by Kelly Clarkson in the final, and I think I just loved the sound of the music, and that's kind of what I went with. But
I mean, it's quite hard trying to match a 12-year-old to some suitable songs, I guess, for a Saturday night TV show. That is actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
So will you still be performing those songs when you go out on the road again?
Yes, definitely. Especially like Feeling Good will always be a part of the set list, because it's always, that was the first thing I ever did, and I love the song. Although I've performed it so many times now, I don't know how I feel about performing it again, but I do love the song, and I know it will always have to be, that's how people know me. That's kind of what they remember. Yeah. But, I sang those songs because I loved them, and nothing's changed. So yeah, they'll definitely be a part of the set list.
And what about influences? Because we're talking all this week on the show about Madonna being 60, and, she was part of my teenage years. I mean, I don't know her, but, she was part of my teenage years and 20s, and I grew up listening to that music. I mean, what are you into? What kind of music do you love?
Gosh, I listen to so many different genres. And I mean, soul music's my favourite. So I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder, Whitney Houston, all the major voices, and it was soulful music, and I love that. So that's kind of my favourite, but I listen to lots of different genres and styles.
Yeah. So soul music. Now tell us tell us something about this brand new single that you've made. No Love Like First Love is what it's called. That like First Love is in brackets.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't work on the radio bracket. But tell us something about who wrote this song and what is it about?
A man called Simon Broben wrote this song, and a guy called Jonathan produced it. And I mean, for me, this song, what I fell in love with, it's a great dance pop song, but the lyrics are what I fell in love with. Everybody's been in love, everybody's fallen in love, and if they haven't, they probably will. And, you're never going to forget that first love, and everybody can relate to the words and through their own experiences. And I think, to me, that's what music is all about. So that's kind of why I was so drawn to this song and why I thought it would be such a good song to release to begin with.
Can we get it now?
Yes,
is it out
it's
there?
Available everywhere.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
Ronan, brilliant to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Do come back
Yes,
when
I'd
you're
love
in
to.
the hood, because I know you hang out in Bath quite a lot, don't you?
I do. Love it there.
Okay. Brilliant to meet you. Thank you so
You
much.
too.
Cheers. Bye-bye.